Hello, this is Hurtful Toad. I'm going to try to do a very concise video here on a very broad subject of how to bring a Voxelfarm terrain into Unity with trees and grass. I'll use L3DT Pro to do my height maps and masks, Voxel Studio to create the terrain, pull it into Unity, and I'll use Blender, mainly dealing with meshes. First of all, I've set up here basic directory structure. You don't need this directory structure. I just want to show you that, like, I'm going to put my Voxelfarm project here, and I'm going to put my Unity project here, and my L3DT there. But I just want to show you how to set up the Voxelfarm. So sample layout, like let's say this is let's call this one easy terrain. This is going to be what we're going to create, easy terrain. Okay, easy terrain. This is the Voxelfarm project. Okay, so I'll put my project file here from Voxelfarm, and this is basically the layout you want. It's your bitmap folder would have textures that you'll be using on your landscape, and then mesh would have, right now I've got a tree, grass, and boulder, one of each, just for simplicity's sake. R16 is where we're going to keep a 16-bit raw height map. So that'll be the height map for our landscape. And then raw is where we'll keep our masks. Also, I usually start and have a mask. It's got to be the right resolution. This one's 2048 pixels wide by tall square. This one's 4096. I usually keep them around just all and none. This is all white. This is totally black, and in two different resolutions. Temp we don't use. VRLE is where the VRLE files go. That's your voxelized meshes. So you can pull a mesh into Voxelfarm like a boulder or something, and turn it into a voxel instance. So that's where we'll have those. Now back on the Unity project, we'll call it easy terrain as well. Okay, and it's the main things that it's got to have. It's going to have, of course, your assets folder is where everything goes. You've got to create a resources instances layer directory. That's where I'm going to put the items that will the grass and trees. So then standard assets, of course, is, pulling in my characters and things, probably the first thing you do when you first get Unity and learn it. Streaming assets, you got to have that, Voxelfarm. And then here is where we'll need to create a folder. Streaming assets, Voxelfarm. Now we'll create a folder that we will post our bundle. The Voxelfarm will output a bundle, which is the terrain and everything that goes with it, to a location, and that location needs to be here, Streaming Assets Voxelfarm. And then we make a folder, we'll make it Easy Terrain. Let's get started. I'll pull up L3DT. The thing that I use this for is creating height masks. Let's go ahead and get started, and then I'll talk a little bit about it. Let's see, so new project, designable maps, fine. I'm going to go to 2048 by 2048. And horizontal scale 10 meters is fine. Edge wrapping, that's what'll make a tileable map. It'll be like a seamless texture. Let's go ahead and get started so this can get going. Okay, I'm gonna average altitude, that's fine. Pretty tall, more steep, scale of features, small features, and a bunch of them. Noise shape, more fractal, a little bit of cliffs, bunch of erosion, and a bunch of lakes. Okay. And then I want the height field and the design map. I'm not going to use these right now. In this case, I'm just going to do a very simple biome. It's going to be sand, grass, and rock. Okay, I'm back, and the height map has been created. Just to make it clear, well, you can see that it's seamless. You can see how this black goes up into the corner and also is matched here and down here. Or no, well, anyway, you can see like where this matches this, north matches south, and so it makes a seamless map. The great thing about this software, the best thing I think, is that you can pull in other height maps from other sources and make them seamless as well. So anyway, you'll also notice that down here you can, right in this area, you'll see the altitude wherever I put my cursor, and that's good for making masks. So what I'm going to do is, and I've already, made various maps and have some masks in here, but I'll go ahead and just basically make new ones, or yeah, I'll just make new masks. So I'm going to make one for my sand. I'm going to do sand, grass, and rock. So my sand, of course, is going to go from the minimum, like it looks like it's minus 170. So I'll go infinitely small up to about probably this point, which is 230. So resources, I'll make a mask, a new mask. I'll just set a maximum to 240, and that's it. Nothing else to do. I'm not going to use gradients, so I'll leave them unchecked. I'm not going to use any of that, just altitude. So I'll save as, and we'll make new sand mask. Okay, and then I'll create another one. This one will be grass. We'll take everything except the peaks. So let's say 600 or so. We'll also overlap it. Reset mass, new mass. So in this one, we do need a minimum. We're going to overlap. We took the other one up to, let's see, 180. So we'll go 150 here. And we'll take this one up to 600. Okay. Let me say mass. Yes. No, that was new grass mask. Okay. Was the first one 180? Let's see. Resources, max, edit, new sand mask. It was 240. So that's fine. I went from 150 up to 600 with the grass. And this one goes from infinitely small up to 240 with the sand, and it'll figure it out how to blend them together. And so this time we want to make a mask for the rock, and we'll just go a minimum of the from 600, so we'll go 550 and on up to max. Don't set a max, and it'll just go to infinity. So save mask, yes, and we're going to save that one as new rock mask. Okay, so there's my mask. And then, okay, so I guess we're ready to create that. Basically got the masks saved to disk. Now we want to come in here and generate masks, and so we click on the three that we just made, these three right here, hit OK, and it'll make those masks. So I'll pause and be back when those finish. Alright, that only took about 20 or 30 seconds, but here I've got the mask. So you got height field, and then you've got the mask for it. This is my grass. See, it's got a lot of coverage. And then you got rocks, just going to be the peaks. And then we got the sand. Alright, so the sand and the grass overlapped a lot. So anyway, so that's all the files I need. Now I need to export them to Voxelfarm. So I right click on this and export. The height map is easy because you can go straight to raw. You could go R16 format. I'm pretty sure Voxelfarm understands both, but you can see it's a 16-bit unsigned file data, and we're not going to resize, so we just find the location, which is right here. and we're putting it in Voxelfarm, Easy Terrain, and we're putting this in the R16 folder. So, oh well, we got to give it a name. So Easy Terrain, height map. There. All right. So that one's done. Now with the 3 masks, I'll export them to the I'll export them to the proper directory, but you see, I'll export them into the raw directory, might as well, but you see that it'll only go as 3 different formats, neither one of them being the raw format, so I'll have to go into Photoshop and convert them. I'm just going to go as PNG, and game dev, new project, Easy Train, so we'll go into the raw folder, and this one is grass, so grass mask. Lord. Okay, here we go. That's the grass mask. And then we'll go with the rock mask, export it same way. Export PNG. Rock mask. And sand. Export sand mask. Alright, sand mask. Alright, now we've got our height map and our masks. And that's all we'll need this software for, I do believe. Just to show you though, you can go to Edit, Height Field, and you can edit this in a very low res version. But you can visualize it and edit it, move around, and you know, if you go in here and edit it and save, you know, and then export your height map again, then those edits will appear in Voxelfarm. So you could go in here and dig you out a nice deep pool, you know, because all of this they visually represented where, you know, they kind of intended water, grass, and rock to be themselves, but that doesn't mean that's where, you know, we're going to make it happen in Voxelfarm or in Unity. So we could have all this be dry land, but then, you know, have a pool edited right here, and make that the water level. But anyway, that's available to you, but let's exit out of this because we're not going to use it anymore. We'll save the project into that L3D and Easy Terrain. Project. Okay. Alright, and then we'll go into Voxelfarm. Well, I might as well go to Photoshop and convert those PNGs first. Project saved. Okay, get out. Alright, now I might as well go to Photoshop and we'll convert those PNGs over to RAW format. I'll show you how to, well, it'll be quick once I do one, so I was going to say I'd pause while I did the others just to speed it up, but no sense. It's most of our time's going to be waiting on this thing. Fast computer, but it's massive software. So file, open, and we're going to go right here to where we had it was in the Voxelfarm raw. We went ahead and put it in the proper directory, but they're in the wrong format. Let's hold Control down and open all 3 of them. Okay, so there they are. And grass mask will file. The thing you can look at is image mode. It's in grayscale, 8 bits per channel. That's exactly what you need. That's what the PNGs save as, and that's what you need as a raw file, so you can just go straight to save as raw, Photoshop raw, and save right into that directory, and that's it. And 0 header. So file, save as, find raw, save, 0 header. They're all going in as 2048, which is the resolution I was using. Save as, raw, save. 0 header. Okay, that's it. We've converted the PNGs. Now we got masks and height map that'll work in Voxelfarm. So we pull up Voxelfarm and we do a new project. We do a new one. We come in here. We don't really want the continent and biomes. That creates a very large multi-biome, multi-layered world that we're not dealing with right now. I'm not workspace and materials is mainly if you're just going to get into the building with Voxelfarm and voxel-based buildings and stuff, which I usually don't use, but I'm just going to do a blank project. Finish. And now we'll do what we can do, which is basically go all the way to producing this thing. Because what we can add is, we'll add into our project a height map to start with, which we just created. And then, let's just make it ET. Alright, make this easy for us. And then, it's back where we were, is Voxelfarm projects, easy train. It's in the R16 folder. It's right here. It's the one we just created. And there, if it pops in here, then you're good to go. It means it was the proper size and format to come in. So if you see it, you're good. Alright, so let's pull in the masks. Add masks. Grass. Well, let's do them in order. Sand. And then there in this raw folder. And we'll just do sand mask. And if it comes in pink, that's pink represents all white. They make the displacements green and the masks pink to visually cue which one you're looking at here. So let's add the other two masks. So this will be grass mask. All right, and then mask. Let's be rock. Okay, rock mask. Okay, so they all come in. So now we've got a height map. We've got masks to tell the materials, different materials, where to go on the map. And all we need to do is add the materials. So let's go ahead and add materials. And like I said, we'll just need 3: sand, grass, and rock. Sand. That's sub-material. We don't need it at the moment. So we'll go back to the bitmap directory where we've got our textures. And we'll pull in sand. Let's do this basic one. We'll pull in the normals to make them look better. Sand 1. Okay. And then let's add another material. And this one will be grass. And diffuse on it's here. Normal. It's here. And then one more material. Rock. And I'll just use a very standard stone. And there we go. So we got our materials, we got our height map, we've got our masks. Let's see. So now what we got to do is we're not going to use the smart biome either. We're basically doing this from scratch. So we're just going to create a biome. You got to have a biome on this terrain. So the biome comes in here and we can name it ET Mountain. And then height map is ET. Height map unit size is very important. I'm going to do what down here they say for 100 and a 2048 image, it'll cover 20 kilometers, 20 and a half. So that's what we're going to do, 100. Now I know that if you do that, the height of the map should be about 20,000 or so. Could be 25,000 depending on how tall you want your mountains. But I don't use terracing vertical shift. I think I usually I don't think it matters. It should be at 1, or, I mean, doesn't matter where it is, I don't think, but I usually stick it at 1. All right. Okay, so we've got the materials, sand, grass, and rock. We've got the height map in and some masks, sand, grass, and rock. Now we need a layer. So we go to our biome where we created the, where we plugged in the height map, and we add layers. This will be layers of the 3 materials. So sand, the material, we'll apply it. Oh, wrong one. Sand. And then we need to specify which mask, which is the sand mask, and then displacement. See, we don't have one. Displacement is like a bump map for let's add displacement. Like a bump map for the terrain surface itself. It's, we're just going to do flat. Like your normal or bump maps will affect the granularity of your textures. That's the same way that this will affect the granularity of the layer, the overall surface of your grass. So that's why I've got these all in here. This is all white. It shows up as green as a displacement in Voxelfarm. But anyway, so now I can apply that displacement, just a flat displacement, to the sand. And then we'll add another layer. Click back on the biome, add another layer, and this will be the grass layer. Assign the material. Assign the mask, and displacement again flat, and then back on the biome, add another layer. This is rock, and then material is rock, mask is rock, and flat displacement. Okay, so there we go. Now we've assigned everything, and we can render. And this is when you see how it's, you're one step closer to getting into Unity. Okay, so it gave me some land, but it's all grass. All sand, rather. So what I've got wrong there is that if you come up here to the displacement, to each layer, I've got height. And for some reason, for one, I think the shift, I usually put it 1. I think that may be the reason. 1. And sometimes I'll put equal height on all of them to begin with. But, boom, that was it. So I needed that 1 in the shift of the displacement. Don't even ask me what that means. I don't know. But anyway, it separated them. I don't like how it's got way too much sand. So I'll go in and adjust but it does what we asked. It's got grass in the middle and rock up top on the peaks. So I'm going to adjust them. I'm going to get a little bit more rock, a little bit less sand. Okay. Paused there and went into L3DT and adjusted the masks, exported them back out to Photoshop and put them back in just to get it a little more balanced. A little less sand, a little more rock, and this is good enough for what we're doing. So the next thing we need to do is put in grass and tree instances. And so, these are the grass. I've got the one grass texture, but I'll go ahead and put actual mesh grass in here. So to do that, let's close out of Photoshop. And L3DT, we'll say, only if it asks me, I save, yeah. Okay. And so to do that, we'll need the meshes that we've got, is just something that you would have on your computer already. I'm not going to show how to, make a grass mesh or a boulder or tree, of course. Well, I'll take that back. I will make a sample tree to go into Voxelfarm because I have trouble pulling in multi-material tree meshes into Voxelfarm and getting them to look right and all anyway. That could be a subject of another video. Maybe somebody wants to address that. But for now, I just basically want to get placeholders into my project so that I can tell where the grass and trees are going to be and how many of them. The grass, so I've got them in here in needed assets, and I've just got boulders, FBX of boulder, and grass. I've got the textures of the grass because I will pull in the textures for the grass. It's easy to do. It works well in Voxelfarm, and you can see kind of what the grass is going to look like. Not exactly, but kind of. And this tree is this is a speed tree I've got here with its textures. The thing is, I don't think Voxelfarm can pull in a speed tree, so I'm going to use that to put into Unity. But for now, I just mainly need these FBX files. So what I'll do is I'm going to copy that and its material. This is just a dark and a light grass, so I'll copy that over to the Voxelfarm project in the mesh folder. Well, I've already got the grass, boulder, and tree here, so I'll just copy this this texture. We'll delete that one. This texture here, and what you've got to, what you need to do is, in fact, this one is something we'll make in Blender. So I'll just go ahead and take it out. It's just going to be like a placeholder for us. And but the grass, so I'm gonna pull it into Blender and be sure that the texture is applied correctly. I'll hit A twice and delete that, and then I'm going to file import the FBX file, and I'll have to go to it. I think no mesh right here. Let's see. It's from projects, easy training mesh. So there I am. Now I'm going to bookmark this folder, so I can pull in the grass FBX, and there it is. It's basically, that's a billboard grass, and of course they've got just a bunch of quads here that that'll get a transparent grass texture painted to it. And if I right click it and hit edit mode, you can see the triangles that make up the quads. Each quad is 2 triangles. And but anyway, the reason I did that is so I can go over here to the right, look at the material. See, it's got a material already assigned and the texture's already in it. So in that case, that'll be fine as long as if you go to the texture, this needs to be a directory that I have. And easy terrain, mesh, plants, foregrass. It happens to be, but only because I had done this before. Usually you'd have to go in here and choose it like that. And make sure that that's, because it's an absolute address, make sure it's one that's actually on your computer if you want it to show up in Voxelfarm. And, that's how it looks alpha. But, in fact, I just put it twice, so. But anyway, so as long as that's the case, then you could you could export back out to the FBX, and I put it right here, so I could export this back out. And if I do grass new, I'll just put grass new. What I'll need to check is just send out the mesh, not all this armature, all this other stuff. You probably don't have most of it anyway. Click this button to get the scale to stay right. That's especially true for Unity. I know that if you don't click this button and you export into Unity, the scale messes all up. So that's it, and export out. And we'll close out of here. Before I close, here's what I'm going to do for a tree. File new, you gotta file new and then click this, get that startup file. Okay, and then delete AA, delete all that out. And then I'm just gonna make a quick tree, because like I said, you really I've had a lot of trouble pulling in tree meshes, and it just never seems to work out. And it's so basically I end up using just a placeholder to see where it's going to be and get an approximate idea on the location and quantity that it's going to make for me. So anyway, these are Unity. These blocks each represent one Unity unit, and so that tree trunk would be a little big, so I'm going to hit S for scale and bring it down, and then I'm going to hit E for extrude and Control Z. Okay, let's put it in edit mode and hit E for extrude, and I right click to cancel out, because what I want to do is hit E and then Z so I don't move on all the other axes. All right, and then I'm gonna E to extrude again. Let's E to extrude again and S to scale, and then bring it out. And then I'm gonna do EZ to take it up on Z a little more. And then I'm going to do S to scale. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay, right in. I'm too far out and it's hard. Okay, but that would make a decent placeholder for a tree. I could bring it in a little tighter now that I zoomed in closer and got a little more control. Okay, so that'd be an okay placeholder for a tree, right? So it looks like, if this is a unit, then that's maybe 15 units tall or something. So that'll work. It does matter in Voxelfarm where you put it. I'm going to hit A twice to get the whole thing grabbed. And if I put it down here, then my tree tip is going to be sticking out of the ground. Okay, we'll deal with that. So I'm going to put it here just so that it's down in the ground a little bit and pops right out of there. Okay, so I'm just going to file, export this out, and then we'll plug this thing in. File, export out as FBX, back in my mesh directory. And this is going to be my tree 1. And then, like I said, I'm just going to send this mesh out and click this to make sure the scale properly. Alright, so that's it. That's my tree mesh. No. You want to quit? Yes, don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm going to plug it in, which I've got right here, so I'll just do it. It's plugged in. Alright, and away we go. We need to get the grass in here. So I'm just going to get down here close. I'm going to put the grass as a material instance, and I'll put the, which means I'm going to put the grass, I'm going to add a planting rule to the material right here, to the grass material. But as the trees, I won't do that, because whatever you do there, it's just going to spawn short radius around the player, whereas you can do it up here as a layer instance, and it'll spawn a whole lot further out, which I would want for trees, so that there's nothing more annoying than going into a game and having trees popping in and out every time you move somewhere. So it's just best if they go ahead and get them out there, and to where they don't pop in and out as the player moves around. So anyway, to get the grass mesh in, we'll add a mesh. So add this mesh. Yeah, right here. It's right here. Grass. We'll do grass new. And would like the materials. Yes, you do, because if you don't, you won't be able to see this stupid thing. I think that's unless I'm, mistaken about something, that seems to be one thing that Voxelfarm, it doesn't link that material to the mesh unless you bring in the mesh with it. So anyway, so this is the new mesh, and we'll call that grass. And here I'm going to change this. I believe when you go to Unity, you're better off to have a relative address here to your mesh directory, because it's going to be looking from that instances layer directory, and it needs a relative instead of an absolute to grab that mesh. So we'll change that to a relative directory. And then, so you've got your mesh in. Now you need a mesh instance. It's grass. Okay, asset name. Now this is what Unity will call in. Oops, let's don't. So I could name it anything I want. Speed tree grass, or grass 05 or whatever. It's going to look for a prefab in Unity to spawn that mesh that's linked to that name. But anyway, so since I've got the mesh, I put it in all these. Let's load these LEDs up here. It ain't gonna spawn out 10, 12, 15, so probably no sense in going beyond this, but I don't think it hurts performance to have these loaded up. It'll call it in another way, so it really doesn't matter. Once you get beyond about 7, 8, 9 on the grass, you're probably far enough. Okay, I'll make overlap where yes, they can overlap if need be. If I go real dense, it'll overlap them. And then this size X, Y, and Z seems to be, the grass, mainly the grass height is Y. So I'll put, I like a nice short grass. So I'll put 0.2, and then, just to keep correct with the scale of that mesh that we looked at in Blender, it might be half the height that it is the width, something like that. So that's why my X and Z come in. I'm mainly worried about the Y being the height of my grass. So I've got the mesh instance in now. So now I think I can add the planting rule to the material. So here's my material, and I can do add planting rule, and density, I don't know, 0.05. Maximum angle, we'll just put it 90, and we'll put the minimum angle to minus 90. That way it'll spawn anywhere. Maximum size. Now, the best I can tell by this is like a patch of grass. I don't know. That's how it looks when it spawns, is like the higher the number here, the bigger the patches are. So I'm going to put I'll put 30. And a minimum size is the minimum patch, so 20. And then who knows what this minimum is? I mean, the description is minimum. Pretty sure if you could get a bubble to pop up, it would say lowest amount. Something like that. Because I don't know what it is. 1, whatever. Noise fret, we won't use those. Shift, I will put it at 1. Like I said, some of these shifts, for some reason, need to be at 1. So grass, and we've got it on the material. We'd really have to have our fingers crossed for this thing to render in, but we'll give it a shot. There's so many settings. I usually have to play around a lot until I get something to happen, like grass coming into, scene or something like that. Yeah, there'll be something wrong, see. And so let's see what we did. Let's put more of them. 90, 30. Oh, good gosh. You've probably been looking at that for the last, 45 seconds while I looked for it, but you got to plug the mesh instance in. Let's back this back down to 50. Oop. And try to render again. See, maybe that was it. I definitely got to plug that mesh instance in. Like I said, so many settings. And there we go. Now we're talking. So you got grass meshes. Now it's nothing to brag and write home about and, do videos of, but it is grass. And I'm not going to sit here and tweak these settings to the hilt trying to get the absolute best grass I can possibly get in Voxelfarm, because when we go to Unity, that's where that's where it's all going to be important. That's what your player sees. So that's all you really care about. So we'll tweak everything there. This is just to get them to spawn. So I'm coming up in here just to show you that, of course, it just takes a little time for the LODs to update, but just to show you that it's going to spawn grass only on the grass material, and see how it ain't going on the rock. Okay, but anyway, we'll deal with the look and the we'll have to deal with the frequency, the density here, but and the size. But in Unity, we'll worry about how it really looks and how it spawns, and whether we got to choke back on the density a little bit to get it to spawn out ahead of us far enough, and also to be easy on our frame rates. So next I'm going to plant trees. It's very similar to what we just did for grass because it's still a mesh instance, but there is a trick to it. I don't know. I'm sure this is probably a bug that they'll fix, but it could be just my not knowing any more about it. But what we're talking about, the difference is we're going to spawn a mesh instance on a layer for the trees, so that they spawn way out further than this away, and they kind of are out there static rather than spawning in and out every time we turn a corner. So we'll add the mesh. So let's add the mesh. Add. I should have checked the material, but I made the mesh new, so the material texture shouldn't have been assigned. If we don't get them to pop in right quick, we'll jump back to Blender and make sure that if you have no material, no texture assigned, it should come in here as white. So, would you like? Yes, we'll bring in whatever it's got and it thinks its material is, which was tree 1 solid. Yes, bring it on in. And then new mesh is going to be, don't change that number. That's a mistake. You have to redo it if you do. Tree, we'll just bring it in, tree 1, and then make it relative. And then we'll make a mesh instance, which is going to be tree 1 and tree 1. You probably don't have to have all these names the same. That was just a guess I was throwing out there. LOD, yeah, still need these LODs will affect it, because on the layer instance, it'll have the ability to spawn out there, 8 or 10 LODs out. Who knows how far? I'm gonna put them all in. It doesn't use the same culling strategy in Unity as the grass does, the material instances. So we're going to put all 15 in. And all right, and then size of the tree. So here again, it's like the tree itself is maybe I don't know, let's say 20 wide and 40 tall. That's probably a little tall and slender, but let's just try it. The anchor point on Y will affect up or down where the tree is vertically. And then we're going to put it on on grass, on the grass layer in this case, not the grass material. We'll add a planting rule. So we've got the mesh instance, and we'll just add a planting rule to the layer. Now, tree 1. And then we won't put in the mesh instance right away. Well, we can. Yeah, let's put it in. Tree 1, it is a mesh instance. We don't need the other mesh 2, mesh 3, mesh 4. There'd be other trees and boulders and stuff. Settings here is, instead of frequency, it's decimation. So it's decimated. So that's like putting in 0.08. I put 0.92. It's like putting 0.08 for the density. Maximum angle again is like the same, 90, and minimum angle minus 90, just to make that not matter at this point. Maximum height, that's the height of the map, where we won't spawn any above it. We're not using that, so we're going to try to do very high and very low so that it'll just spawn anywhere. maximum shift. There again, them shifts can be tricky. I don't know for sure what they're trying to do here. I'm going to put 3 and 1. We won't use noise. I've had some trouble with it not letting my thing spawn in, but here. Okay, tree 1. Now, theoretically, I believe all the settings are in. We're going to save this project. I believe all the settings are in, and it should, you would think, render those white trees out there, but I don't think it will. Let's find out. And it didn't. No trees. No trees in sight. Okay. But the trick I've found for some reason is if we put a mesh instance in, a voxel instance. Okay, and we don't have one. Now, one thing we could do is go ahead and make one out of that tree. It's not, I think we could probably just pull in any old voxel instance that's already, file that's already in there. You saw I had some boulders in it, but we could load up and pull, let's see, pull in this mesh, and there it is. See, and the Voxelfarm suite, it pulls in a mesh object and makes it a voxel, and then you could just save it as a VRLE file right here as tree 1. Okay, and there's your VRLE that you have. Now, the reason I did that is because it seems for some reason if we pull a voxel, still don't have an instance. So let's add a voxel instance. And this is coming in down here, right here, new instance. We'll put tree 1 and 20. Material, we'll throw a material on it. I don't know, we'll make a rock tree. And then we're not going to use this, so I don't know if we even wanted that. And source mesh, I don't think you want that. What you want here is file and pull in the voxel. Okay, so there's our instance called tree. So if we come here and put in now not only a mesh instance but also a voxel instance of tree 1, now let's see if it'll render. And there's a tree. I see 1. That's promising. There's 1. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's more. 1, 2, 3. There'll be more. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I change the density, I can have them just cover this landscape. But for now, we're happy just getting our trees in. That's what we were after. And once they come in here, now I can just take this voxel instance off, put it back to none. Pretty sure it'll still refresh. I don't know. I think that's a bug. I'm sure they'll probably fix that. In with all the development they're doing, they're adding tons of stuff, working on multiplayer support. I'm not going to push them for that right now. It's not real important. Okay, that 1 tree disappeared, but that's probably where a voxel was gonna, go. But here's still my mesh instances, so I'll just leave them. I'll just leave them in there, and so we're ready now. Now that we get this popping in, we could go back and play with the density, the location. We could put a mask and just have the trees be in certain areas. But either way, we're prepared to go into Unity, and what it's going to do is pull in. You go to that mesh instance right here, and this asset name is key. That's what's going to key the whole deal. So the one I was going to use, I might as well go ahead and change that to the one I was going to use, new, which was in these needed assets. I think I was just going to use this tree. I was going to use conifer desktop small. So we'll conifer desktop small. So we'll put that in here, conifer desktop small. Of course, you got to get the spelling and capitalization and all that exactly right. Hopefully I did. Conifer desktop small. Conifer small. Yep, I did. Okay. Oops. Where'd you go, boy? All right. But since I've changed that, now I'm going to save. I'm going to save the project, and then I'm going to check it one more time. This is tree 1, and it is Conifer desktop small. Okay, and my grass is grass new. So that's the prefabs that I'm gonna have in my directory in Unity to make sure it spawns it. And so anyway, I saved the project. Now I'm gonna go to Unity, and I'm gonna output to that folder that we had designated for our Unity project. Let's see, it was right here, Unity project, and easy terrain assets. And this is why you had to have the streaming assets, Voxelfarm easy terrain. There it is right there. Streaming assets, Voxelfarm easy terrain. That's the folder I want to go into. And I'm going to export the bundle into it. And there it went. The bundle's in there. Next thing I'll do after a brief pause is to load up Unity and pull that bundle in, and we'll be done. Okay, so now we're going to try to pull that bundle that we sent from Voxelfarm into Unity. Before I do that, let me Unity projects. I've cleaned this up a little bit. There's our folder, and I just went all the way down to assets, and we've got resources, instances, layer, mesh, folders. We got standard assets that I've got them in here already, so you don't have to watch me download them and then install them from Unity. And then we've got the bundle here in the Voxelfarm Easy Terrain folder. That's all we've got. So we've got a fresh project. Now I'm going to rename this just so it don't pull anything from cache. Easy T7, and that we'll just make that our new project. So let's see, we'll just open it, choose that folder. It'll compile all these scripts, but the only thing, as far as I know, we'll go ahead and pull the Voxelfarm plugin in. I had deleted it as well to make sure that we start fresh there. And we'll pull the grass and trees, the prefabs for it to call up into that instances layer folder, and we should be ready to go. Okay, so we've got a blank project here. The first thing we'll do is go ahead and pull in the Voxelfarm package. So custom package. Let's see, I've got it in program files, Voxelfarm, Unity plugin right there. Import it. And we've just got a main camera and a sunlight. So we'll go to prefabs and pull in the client. And here I'll attach the camera to this focus target and put in the name of our bundle, which was Easy Terrain. And I don't know, I'll click that. I'll leave these numbers. They get you about where you was when you created the bundle. So that should generate a landscape. Just no trees or grass yet because we haven't pulled those instances in, those prefabs. Let's see if we get the bundle. And yes, we did. You can't see too far out because the camera is set up. So I'll change that while I'm going back. Go ahead and change this far to something large. And so let's pull the prefabs in for our mesh. So I'm going to just go back to the project folder here and grab that grass new that we created. No sense in getting that was just a placeholder tree. I'll grab that texture as well while I'm there and copy and move it to the project under that resources instances. Put it in mesh. You could put it in, as long as it's under instances layer somewhere, it'll find it. Okay, so that's the actual FBX file and its texture. And now we'll go to I'll go where I saved the speed tree. I just saved it right here. I went from speed tree, I just hit file save and saved the SPM file here. And Unity can read that directly, so we'll put it same folder right here. Okay, and then we'll go back to the project, and it's going to compile those assets where it lets me in. We'll fix the normals and run it again and see if we get the trees, and should get the trees and grass. The grass, oh yeah, we got bukus, thousands of trees. And so let's see if we got the grass. I'm gonna hit Control F4, Control 4 rather, and Control 1, click the main camera and pull that main camera. And it's sluggish because it's just now first time rendering this thing. So okay, so yeah, we've got the grass as well. It doesn't look good because it's showing the billboards without the transparency. So I'll go in and fix that. And that would be done by going to the resources, not that one, resources, instance layer, mesh, and just bring in this, and so you can see the billboards. So just change your shader to something transparent, cut out, diffuse. Okay, this won't be anything to write home about, but it'll look a little better. Okay, and so that's basically it. We could put a first-person character on here, run around and see what kind of distance we get on the grass generation. But other than that, let's get to where we can see the grass. Again, yeah, there's the grass, looking a little better, and it looks very similar to what it did in Voxelfarm. Obviously, I'll go ahead and I'll put a better texture on it and put a first-person character in here. But as far as getting it going, that pretty much accomplished what we set out to do. Okay. Now, okay, so I've put a little bit better texture in for the grass and gave it a little time to render up the LEDs in this location once I put my first person character in. And so now you can see the grass looks a little better, although if I had a lighter color that blended into the terrain, it would probably be a better effect, so you don't see its generation out there. So such a contrast, but anyway, right now it seems like it's spawning in a fairly good radius from the player. It's pretty dense, and of course the trees you can see are way out there. And so I think that'll give you a start. Hopefully this helps someone. It was a learning experience for me to do it, and thanks for watching.